Hello everyone, this is Chris with Life on BTC and welcome to our first ever video blog. Super excited to kick off this format and start coming to you via video instead of just via Substack and the written word. So today we're going to cover something pretty relevant to what is happening today for a lot of people. And that's how do you get started with Bitcoin and what that process looks like for a lot of people. And this is really due to a lot of questions that I'm getting from family and from friends and business associates who are all excited about Bitcoin. They hear about Bitcoin in the news, and they hear about Bitcoin, of course, from me, and they hear about Bitcoin all over the place. And they want to know how they can get started. So we're going to go past the idea that you're discovering Bitcoin from an intellectual perspective, the really top part of the funnel, the discovery aspect of Bitcoin and what is Bitcoin and how Bitcoin works and why you might want to have Bitcoin. We're going to move past that into the how do you acquire Bitcoin for the very first time. And so we're going to cover really at a very high level kind of what are the three major methods and some of the pros and cons associated with each of them. And then we'll do a follow-up on each of these and go in more depth on subsequent blogs. So those three methods that people most commonly acquire Bitcoin are: one, purchasing through a centralized exchange. This would be your Coinbase or your Binance or whatever, Kraken, whatever centralized exchange that you pick based on your jurisdiction. The second method is to utilize a decentralized exchange, and that's a peer-to-peer exchange, and I'll cover the differences between the two. This could be something like BISC, this could be something like HODL HODL, this could be something like RoboSats. I think there are some, Peach Bitcoin is one. So there are others, and they're always changing. Some going away and new ones are coming on board. And the third method, and the easiest and probably most straightforward method, is to use a Bitcoin ATM. And if you're in America or certain parts of Europe, these are fairly prevalent. And this is like a normal kind of ATM that you would already have a good understanding of how to use, where you insert your bank card and you get out cash. In this case, you're going to insert your cash and you're going to get Bitcoin in return. So some very quick pros and cons for these various methods. For a centralized exchange, one of the things that you're going to have to deal with is giving up your anonymity or your privacy. This is because these exchanges are typically administered and regulated in the country that they operate or they have a license in, and they have certain restrictions imposed upon them based around know your customer and money laundering laws and these sorts of things. So as part of the process, you may be able to create an account without having to give any of that information, but once you decide to do a transaction, you're going to have to, at a minimum, validate that you are who you say you are, so verify your identity, and go through some sort of process to connect your bank account to that exchange. So the thing to understand there is that any Bitcoin that you buy through this process will already be linked to you and your specific identity. You may not care about this. This may not be an issue. Maybe you use banking all the time and that's not a big deal for you. But for those who are looking for privacy and self-sovereignty, this is something to consider. This may not be the best way for you to acquire Bitcoin. The alternative to that, and before I move on to that alternative, I should say that there's some of those exchanges. I know that Relay, for instance, here in Europe, will allow you to purchase a certain amount of Bitcoin, I think up to 1,000 euros worth, without requiring your KYC information. Though, of course, you would establish and create a connection between them and your bank. So there is some information that the exchange knows about you. They know that the Bitcoin purchase, even if you send it to a wallet offline and don't keep it on the exchange itself, is associated with a certain bank account, and it's not difficult for them to make the connection between that bank account and the person who owns that bank account. So just be aware of that. In a decentralized exchange, this is a peer-to-peer marketplace where buyers and sellers create offers for buying BTC or for selling BTC, and you can browse through those offers and select one that makes sense for you. A couple of things to be aware of in a decentralized exchange: these are anonymous or more anonymous to an extent. There's a couple of caveats there, but they're generally anonymous. The exchange doesn't know who is doing the transaction. The end person that you're buying from, if you send them money, it will show up on, of course, their statement, their fiat bank account, that you received money from such and such person. If you're using Wise, like TransferWise, if you're using Revolut, or if you're using Cash App or something like that, that data will be associated with the transaction. And we'll cover peer-to-peer exchanges and how those work, because they can be a little more complicated and take a while to wrap your head around. But at a very high level, the exchange basically acts as a marketplace or platform to put buyers and sellers together. They usually provide some sort of escrow service to help ensure that the transaction happens in a safe and equitable manner for both parties. And they ensure that the Bitcoin is not transferred until both parties signify that the conditions have been met. So that's a decentralized exchange. And the third and final method, of course, is a Bitcoin ATM. And those are pretty straightforward. The thing to be aware of for Bitcoin ATMs is that you will need an address to send that BTC to. And also you will pay a premium, sometimes a fairly significant premium. 10% is pretty standard. So Bitcoin's going for 62,000 or 72,000, whatever the case may be, you're going to pay a 7% premium for the Bitcoin that you purchase, or 10% premium for the Bitcoin that you purchase. So those are the three general methods that people utilize to acquire Bitcoin after they've decided to go down that rabbit hole. As I said, they each have pros and cons for all of them. And there are more things to be aware of course, more details. But generally, they're all pretty accessible. And in subsequent blog posts, we're going to dive deep into each one of those three, give you some additional pointers and some things to consider. And yeah, hope that you enjoyed and found this informative and are a little bit more relaxed that there is a process that won't be too difficult for you if you decide to acquire Bitcoin. And of course, you can always reach out to people in the community, people like myself, with questions. And Bitcoiners are always willing to help, especially people who are coming new onto Bitcoin. So please do so. Hope you enjoyed the video blog and look forward to connecting with you again very soon. And we'll go through parts 2, 3, and 4 to cover those other methods in detail. Thanks and have a great day.